So what does queer liberation mean to you, or look like to you?
I think to me queer liberation is people being able to like openly identify and express themselves without having like a fear of judgment, without having their lives being threatened. And I know we talked about this a little bit, but I do think queer liberation and intersectionality go hand in hand. And I think that it's not possible for queer liberation to have a future if it's not including brown, if it's not including black, trans, people with like a bunch of interrelated identities, until we like make a society that's safe and acceptable for them. I think that's what queer liberation means to me.
What does reclaiming look like to you?
I think I haven't been like outward, like in the way I express myself, in the way I identify, and I feel like being Mexican and being queer, I didn't feel like I could like exist in both of those communities at the same time. And I think for me reclaiming is like being able to openly like express the love for my culture and the love I have for other people, like openly, publicly, and like simultaneously.
Yeah.
And yeah, something I'm working on.
What does queer liberation look like to you?
I think for me, queer liberation looks like being able to freely live without fear or judgment.
What does a queer future look like to you? A truly queer future.
Queer future.
Mm-hmm.
I think a world that's just generally more accepting of us queer folk. One where we can actually like exercise our rights as human beings, and where we're treated as actual human beings.
How would you reclaim your Mexican and queer identity?
I feel like as a queer Mexican person, we're kind of forced into this box where we have to look a certain way, act a certain way, stuff like that. So I feel like by not meeting those quotas, I'm kind of reclaiming both my Mexican and queer identity. Also just being generally proud of my identity and like speaking out about it, and creating my own space, and also joining other queer and Latina communities.
The dilemma of this brown queer body is its inability to see itself through its own eyes. The mirror becomes a site in which we view what white people have always told us about ourselves. Ever since I read this quote, I've been thinking a lot about reclaiming and what that means for me and my identity. I think reclaiming is such a powerful but also confusing thing. For this project, I wanted to choose something to reclaim. Sometimes this brown body doesn't feel right. Sometimes I feel like there are eyes that follow my body everywhere I go, almost as if asking, "What are you?" To which I can only shrug my shoulders and carry on. Why do they need to know? I feel like ever since I was little, I've always owed everybody an explanation for everything I do. I felt the need to justify why I'm brown or justify why I'm queer. But at this point in my life, I realized I don't know anyone and a reason as to why I exist. I think my ideal version of a queer future is when brown bodies don't have to fear love. I've always told myself that I was never going to find someone I loved because I didn't know I could be anything other than what was deemed as normal. I wanted to fit in with people who are deemed as normal. But guess what? I am loud. Not because of the stereotypes that white people have spread about brown people like me, but because I have things I'm dying to say, people I want to scream my love to. I have things I want to learn and teach, things I want to nurture and things I want to destroy. This brown queer body has been quiet and small for too long. I think that's why this piece of my body is so important to me. Not only because of the history behind it, but also because it forces me to take up more space, which is something I'm working on getting better at. I hope that this reaches all the queer people of color who have been told they're too much to handle. To those who feel like the only thing they can be is small and invisible. to those who have been forced into a box out of fear of being perceived in a way they don't want to be. Most of all, this is a note to myself, something I want to hold on to for the rest of my life. I wrote this in all caps in my notes, but my brown queer skin deserves love.
Should I stand right there? Yeah. I think it looks like ooh. Should I do a High School Musical joke? What? Yeah, but hold on. Yeah, do it.
I couldn't do it.
You weren't committed to it.
I got scared, I'm not gonna lie. I got a little nervous. But the thought was there. Any closing words?
Any closing words?
I don't think so. I think I said what I needed to say for now. Yay! Yay! Hopefully.
We weren't recording any of that.
Girl, I'll kill you.
Any of it? Any.
For realsies?
No, I'm joking.
Oh.